Full Service Radio is proudly supported and hosted by Simplecast, the easiest way for a podcast creator to publish and distribute audio on the internet. For more information, visit simplecast.com.
Recorded live from the lobby of the Line Hotel in Adams Morgan, Washington, D.C.
Peace and welcome to the Edible Activist Podcast. I'm your host, Melissa L. Jones, broadcasting live from the lobby of the Line, D.C. On this show, you hear from the voices of dynamic Black people and people of color in the agriculture, food justice, and healing space as they share empowering food narratives and perspectives that stem from the land, all while exemplifying the spirit of activism in their own edible way. Let's get started. Peace and welcome to the Edible Activist Podcast. I'm your host, Melissa L. Jones, broadcasting live from the lobby of the Line, DC. So for today's show, many of us plan out certain aspects of our lives, right? Well, most of us do. Some of us probably don't. But from our goals to vacations, our financial plans, our milestones. But that doesn't always include a plan for our health, especially as we enjoy the many food pleasures that our palates present to us. And we also don't anticipate the circumstances that stem from a poor and or unbalanced diet. But today in studio, I am joined by the wonderful Dr. Ruby Lathon, who is a holistic doctor, speaker, amazing plant-based chef, and thyroid cancer survivor who dedicates her time to helping everyday people create a roadmap to holistic living. Welcome to the show, Dr. Ruby. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yay! And you know what's so funny? This all kind of, first of all, been wanting to have you on the show. Mm-hmm. I've been following you for a very long time, thanks to my mom. Of course, everybody knows the story of my mom. She introduced me to everybody and every single thing. Okay.
That's awesome.
You are literally a fan of the Jones family. I would definitely say that. But I actually shot Dr. Ruby an email a couple weeks ago, and I was like, because I needed some advice about finding a doctor. And so I was like, also, I want you on the show.
Right,
and so here she is.
Yes. So glad to be here.
Absolutely. Well, you do a million of these, right, Dr. Ruby? I know you do. My mom listens to you when you do your monthly call-ins, actually weekly call-ins.
Right.
And you speak everywhere. And so you probably got this more than I do. I'm actually just bridging back into all of this
good.
after a little bit of a
pretty
break.
Comfy on the mic. Yeah.
Well, today and as every week, this is a total conversation. And I definitely, you, as I mentioned before, you are a thyroid cancer survivor.
Right.
And that was the catalyst behind you, pretty much launching your holistic business. And
Right.
you always had this belief that the body could heal itself. And so, actually, if you Google Dr. Ruby, you can find tons of information about her. But I definitely do want you just to briefly touch on your health journey and what that road to recovery was like, just surviving thyroid cancer, dealing with it, and actually what that is, because some people don't even know what the thyroid is. It's not something that's always talked about.
Right.
So.
Right. Sure. So the thyroid is, at the base of your neck, a little butterfly-shaped gland, and it's like your regulator. It's the thermostat for the body, basically.
Ooh, thermostat.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Wow.
it adjusts and puts out enough thyroid hormone as needed. So it adjusts up and down based on what's already in your bloodstream and what's happening. And so it's very, very important. It regulates lots of things in your body. So thyroid cancer is usually when you have like a cancerous nodule on your thyroid, or follicular cancer when you have several areas of the cancer in different areas on your thyroid. But usually it's a nodule or two or three or something like that that you can sometimes feel, and it is cancerous.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what attributes to thyroid cancer, thyroid issues, because you
Right.
can have thyroid issues before it branches into full cancer. Is that correct? Or
Well, they're not really related. So
Okay.
you don't have to be fearful if you've had like hypothyroid
Okay.
or low thyroid that it's going to turn into cancer.
Okay, gotcha.
It's generally not how that flows.
Okay.
More the thyroid cancer is more related to exposure to radiation, especially like excessive dental x-rays.
Are you serious?
Yes,
Oh
because
my
in that
gosh.
area of the body, so it's very close. So you have to really protect the thyroid and avoid having unnecessary X-rays when you don't need to. Dental X-rays, I know they often do them. Sometimes I think a little too aggressively. Dental-wise, we want to take good care of our teeth
Because that is important.
Yeah,
But-
and you want to do your flossing and your power jet rinse and all that. I use the
Electric.
Yes, the electric
Toothbrush,
toothbrush for sure, like a Sonicare, and then you want to do a water pick, and just to get in between the teeth. And
Okay.
so I'm like, if you do the water pick, you do your flossing, and you have an electric toothbrush,
You should be good.
and you tongue scrape. I think I'm gonna be okay. I don't need a bunch of
Are you trying to say
X-rays.
you don't go to the dentist
No,
until you really need
I
to?
absolutely go to the dentist, but I don't always do
Okay.
the X-rays. So I have a great holistic dentist here in DC, Dr. Terry Victor.
Okay.
And they're good about not pushing too much, and doing what's necessary.
I mean, well, I have to say,
So-
not that we're turning this into a dental conversation.
know.
It's definitely related, though. But when you
Sure.
are in the dental office, I always feel uncomfortable about that big, heavy thing that's thrown across me
Right.
because I'm like, this obviously isn't safe.
Right. So do we have to do this? Let's look and see and not do it as often. Let's not do this twice a year, maybe once a year.
Wow.
And make sure we're using the latest technology and not the old stuff.
Wow.
That's-
So an exposure to radiation.
That's
could lead
one
to-
of them.
Okay, that's
and
one.
so most commonly people are exposed through dental x-rays. So that's why I bring that up.
No. Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then various other just, environmental things that you can be exposed to that can cause, cancer. So, there's no, this is the thing.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for me, I did a lot of research trying to figure out why I got it. And there are certain elements that cause cancer. One that I was like on a quest. I was like, I'm going to figure this out. And I went to a center that measures radiation in your body and all kinds of other chemicals. And they found that I had this compound called californium. It's not commonly found anywhere. It's usually in labs, and coincidentally, it's sometimes used to help treat cancer. But in my case, there wasn't really a reason that I should have been exposed to that. But I did
Right.
work at a laboratory where that was used.
Okay.
And so I'm like, probably.
It's a possibility.
I'm like, probably, but at that point, I was like, I'm just going to focus on my healing, because what I was focusing on was not blame, but answers, so that I could get well. And
Wow.
I chose not to try to pursue exactly where did I get this and who's to blame for this, because I was like, the energy of blame and healing are separate, and you can't really do both.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let that go and focus on the healing.
Yeah.
And so that's what I chose to do. And so I felt like, okay, I feel like I have a good enough answer as to maybe why I have this. So let's look at detoxing. And then I started that. How do you detox your body from heavy metals, radiation, and all these other things? And found a lot of information on medicinal mushrooms and things they used in when there's been nuclear fallout and
Yeah.
things like that, how to protect the thyroid. So it was a journey for
That
sure.
sounds like a very deep and heavy journey, man.
Oh, it was.
Gosh, so many questions.
It was. I was on a serious path, and I was not giving up until I had satisfactory answers.
Wow. And you, prior to all of this, you're engineer major?
Right.
Okay. Okay. So you
Yeah, I was an engineer. I was working in defense at the time. So doing something that
you were exposed to something, Dr. Ruby.
I'm sure. I've been a lot of places.
Real talk, though.
Yeah. So my career it was great, but I wasn't loving it, you know, and I really actually wanted out of it.
Yeah.
I'd go to work every day. I'm like, this sucks.
Story of our lives.
I was like, I actually
Very familiar
thought,
one.
how do people do this every day?
They do it.
And I was
and for
like,
decades.
maybe if I keep doing it, it's just going to settle in and I'm going to like it, you know? And that never
No,
happened.
no,
It just
no.
got worse.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And
Yeah.
I'm sure, you know, once you found out that you had the thyroid cancer and you were on your quest and then you launched your
Right.
your business, like it then became a calling and a purpose and you couldn't go back.
Yeah,
to
no,
what
I
you were
can't. I'm
doing.
like, I'm on a no path of no return.
No return. Bye.
I know, by choice.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
exactly.
it was, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with 9 to 5s. We've got to do them.
Yep.
But when it's
At
not
some
for
point.
you, it's not for you.
You're absolutely
And there
right.
are people who thrive in them and are doing great.
And you're
So
absolutely
I
right.
applaud
And that's okay
them.
for them.
And it's good that we have this variation. But there's some of us who are not built for that.
Yes, absolutely.
And I was one of those.
I feel you. I feel you.
Yeah.
I feel you. So, Dr. Ruby, I find that, and I know that you've had many of these same experiences, right? Sitting around a table, let's just say we're at dinner, we're at lunch, and someone starts to talk about like health issues that they're
Right,
having.
right.
And then you bring up the word holistic, and then you see a blank stare.
Yeah. you get the slight eye roll.
Exactly.
Or the breath.
The eye roll. Right.
Or-
And that is real.
And then
is so
you
real.
get that a lot, you know, and then it depends on the source. So
This is true.
You
This
know,
is true.
because it's like if you feel like the person is just airy flower child,
Yeah.
you're like, sure, you know, I'm not believing it. But a lot of people have knowledge. You can't always just dismiss people by what you think. I've had the benefit. I'd have to say that people tend to trust what I say because I come from a pretty scientific approach and background and evidence-based and can present even the flowery things in
And
a
you
way
have a story. You've
that
gone
makes
through
sense.
it.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
And so I have the benefit of that. So people tend to listen to me a little bit more.
I'm sure.
When I break it down, I'm like, yeah, I was there, you know, and I know where you're coming from because I was there.
Yeah.
And I was like, how is meditation going to help my healing?
Exactly.
Really? I mean,
Exactly.
it was like, that was really the last part. The holistic part of my journey came at the end after I'd done everything else and wasn't quite getting where I wanted to be. Because I was like, I don't understand how, you know, deep breathing is and just chilling out is really going to help this process.
Changing the frequency of what we emit, like all of that. So important.
And energy and all that. I'm like,
I honestly really didn't learn all that until like maybe the last year and a half or so at all. But why are we afraid of the word holistic?
Because
I'm talking about us black folks.
We've been trained that it has no basis and that it's not been tested and it's not, you know, scientifically sound and there aren't 100 or 1,000 studies to back up the way that it works, and maybe it doesn't work every time for every person in the same way, the way they expect.
And it's true that and it doesn't.
Pharmaceuticals, you're right. But even pharmaceuticals don't work the same way. You have same people have the same cancer, and one is dead in 6 months, and the other's alive 12 years later. So even their stuff doesn't work, but they couch it in such a way to give you this confidence in it because it's been tested, even though their methods are just as shaky as others, if not more.
Yeah, real talk.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother show. That's a whole nother show. A whole nother show. If you're just tuning in, I'm Melissa L. Jones, host of the Edible Activist podcast. I am chatting with the wonderful Dr. Ruby Lathon, who I've been following for a very long time now, thanks to my mom, Mama Jones. And, you know, Dr. Ruby, back in 2007, right, is when you found out you had thyroid cancer.
Right.
And she went on this quest to ask questions and to figure out how did this happen? But it was more so, as you described earlier, like you couldn't really focus on the blame. You needed to focus on the healing and just really getting yourself to a healthy place and surviving it. And and out of that, she started her business and she helps everyday folks create a plan for their life when it comes to their health, because everyone has the right to be healthy.
Absolutely.
No questions asked.
Absolutely.
No questions asked.
And the good part about it, it's in your hands. So you really don't have to go outside of yourself to get there,
Right.
you know, and
Right.
a lot of us feel sometimes powerless against things, but our health is one of the things that we have the most control over.
Yes.
So you don't have to be afraid, and it's accessible to everyone in some form. So that's the good news about it. Everybody deserves health, and
Yep.
the power of having it is within you.
Oh my goodness, you're so right. You're so right. So so at the top of the show, I said, Dr. Ruby, for most of us, and especially me, because I'm a project manager by nature, event planner for like a very long time. So my life is about planning.
Okay.
Planning. And, you know, for most of us, not all of us, but most of us, we plan out our lives. We plan out our careers, when we're
Right.
going to retire,
Right.
you know, what we're going to eat for the next 2 weeks.
some of
you
us
know?
do that.
Some
A lot
us
of us
do.
just go along.
Right. And that's why I said not everybody.
Right.
But we have a sense of
Yeah.
planning, but we don't think about the roadmap to holistic living and to
Right.
like a healthy lifestyle,
Yeah.
you know? And so really break that down and what that tends to look like or what that could look like, but also talk about how it varies from person to person, because as you said, like our bodies, I've also learned more recently, and it's like one of those things that you already know, but like it's more reinforced as you like go along the journey, is that all of our bodies are obviously different, and they're just things that can't be explained.
Right.
So if I'm not well and something that works for someone else, you know, doesn't work for me, there's just some things that there's just not explained. But like, what is the roadmap to holistic living, and how does that vary from person to person?
Right. So that's the name of my company,
Yes.
Roadmap to Holistic Health. And it definitely varies. It's not the same for everyone, but there are some basic components that are the same. And so we start with food because that's the most concrete thing. Most people aren't going to argue. Well, some people argue with you on everything.
Yes, food included, Dr. Ruby.
Right. But they most clearly understand the link between food and health. So we start there because it's easy to understand and grasp and, you know, make changes that can help support that. So there's that piece. Then we have to deal with living and stress and how our lives affect our health. You know, that's a huge piece of it that some people aren't expecting to discuss, but we almost always have to.
That's great.
Because a lot of our eating habits and patterns are dictated by the way we feel, how we deal with stress, what's going on in our lives, our relationships, and all of that. So we have to deal with relationships and stress, how we release and relieve stress and how we hold it, and what's the block there. And then, of course, exercise and rest and things like that. So all of those things play into it. So it starts with food, supplements if needed. And then let's talk about what's going on. Because a lot of what myself and some other holistic practitioners and a holistic physician I work with have noticed, usually with things like cancer, usually the 2 or 3 years preceding it, something is going on that is either unsettling, that you're holding on to, that you're not happy with, that you're something. There's always something.
Yeah.
And for me, I wanted to get out of my career and partnership that I was working on. I had started an engineering company with 2 other partners, and it just wasn't working out with one of them. And so I was like, I need to get out. What's my exit strategy to get out of this? I need to plan this out. I'm not happy doing it. And I'm not speaking up enough about it, you know? And so that was the thing that was preceding for me, frustration and not speaking up enough to, you know, balance, you know, speak up for myself. And so those are the things I had to change in addition to, you know, food and lifestyle and, you know, chilling out, because I was workaholic then. It's like working around the clock, because when it's your company, you work nonstop.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. So
You wear a billion hats.
yeah, you wear them all.
I remember we had Dr. Amin come in over a year ago, and he said the same thing. You know, he talked a lot. I mean, yes,
That brain doctor, Dr. Man?
no, Dr. Nazirik Amin,
Oh,
who's the
okay,
rice
different.
farmer,
Oh, okay,
yeah,
okay.
naturopath,
Sure.
yeah, acupuncturist,
Right.
farmer,
Sure, gotcha.
amazing.
Okay.
And he mentioned, I mean, we talked about food and we talked about sickness, but he talked about what are we dealing with or what are we not happy with that contributes to that.
Absolutely. That thing that you're not happy about, that's been gnawing on you forever, that you think you have to just endure, that's the thing that can cause illness.
Wow.
From your gut health to the thyroid to numerous things. Because when you're holding on to it, it just depends on where it's going to show up. And a lot of, in Eastern medicine, they say it shows up where your weakest organ thing is happening. So that's why it's showing up for you there. I felt like for me, the thyroid was enlarged, and it was, it's around your vocal cords. So if it grows too large, it shuts down your voice. You start getting hoarse, and then you may not be able to speak if you let that go. And I was like, that's directly linked to, I need to speak up for myself.
Wow.
I need to speak up, speak out, and live on my terms. And so that's exactly what I did. I was like, no more Ms. Nice Guy. I'm gonna,
you go, Dr. Ruby.
It's like, I'm still a super nice person, but not at my own expense.
Absolutely.
We're all gonna be happy or nobody's gonna be happy, but we're not gonna let everybody's happy except me. And that's what I used to sacrifice self.
Yeah.
And we get that in various ways of teaching. Sacrifice yourself. No, do not sacrifice yourself. You are all you have.
Yes.
So let's make peace among us all, that we're all happy.
Yeah. And I used to, and going back to what I had mentioned earlier about there's just some things that happen to our body, so I can be at my healthiest, and I put that in quotes because everyone defines healthy differently. But like, I'm eating right, I'm exercising, yoga, whatever, but I might be, suffering from something, or I might have an ailment, but my good friend over here is eating everything in the world and beautiful spirit. I have a beautiful spirit too. I'm just saying this as an example. Y'all know me. I have a beautiful spirit.
Absolutely.
But, I always think I'm just like that. They're eating everything and like they're healthy.
Yeah.
They're fine, like no issues. They don't even got to go to the dentist, Dr. Ruby. I'm so serious. But
Right.
my journey deepens in food and the whole spiritual aspect to it, I think of like that internal joy that
internal
person,
joy,
that person has. And I'm like, that has to do a lot with it.
It has everything to do with it. Absolutely. And that's the part for me that I was like, what? But it really does make a difference. Number one, when you're happy, your body chemistry is better. It's more alkaline. It's harder for disease to develop in an alkaline environment.
Okay.
Absolutely. The emotions of happiness, joy, anticipation of good things, giving, thankfulness, gratefulness, that's on a wavelength of alkalinity, and it actually changes your body chemistry. That can be measured, okay? When you're pensive, angry, scared, frustrated, mad, holding grudges,
Bitter, all
that's
that.
very acidic, ripe for disease to grow.
Right.
So the two same people, we can both sit in here eating the same thing, and they're eating garbage, and they're like, this is the best food. And I'm like, oh my God, this is going to go straight to my hips.
Right.
That's what's going to actually happen. No, I'm not advocating for eating junk, but I'm just saying it happens. It affects your body differently because of your constitution and the way you think of things. So that's when I tell people, they're like, oh, I fall off the wagon. I'm like, if you fall off the wagon and eat something you shouldn't eat, enjoy it. Be like, savor the heck out of it. Okay.
And just start over.
And then let it go.
Let it go.
And move on, because now you're like doing double damage if you're like eating it and feeling guilty with every bite. I'm like, just don't either do it and enjoy it. I'm like, if you're going to do it right. Do it up, Come on.
Do it up.
Exactly. Enjoy it and move on, because the way you feel about it actually makes a huge difference.
Wow.
And so that's why I feel like we see people who have terrible diets, who smoke and drink, but they're always laughing. They're always giving. They're always joking. They might live to 100 doing that. You, on the other hand, who can't let go of a parking spot.
Yep.
And road rage, that's going to tear your body down. So you might want to start eating some raw food, a lot of fiber, plant-based, just to balance
electric
this
foods. Exactly.
Right. And it makes the difference. Absolutely.
I've never had anyone break it down to me like that.
Yeah.
But it makes so much sense. Okay. I am really, oh my gosh, like Dr. Ruby's dropping some gems. Guys, we're going to take a really short break and we'll be right back. You're listening to Perfect Day, produced by Artists Authentic. For more of Authentic's work, visit allornothingstudios.com. All right, welcome back. This is Melissa L. Jones here with the Edible Activist Podcast, and here at the Line Hotel, DC, chatting with the amazing Dr. Ruby Lathon, holistic doctor. I'm sure there are several degrees that I can be shouting out behind your name, Dr. Ruby, but she is amazing. We're going to get she's going to share all her information towards the end of the show because I want you all to connect with her, but we've been having a very great conversation about her survival journey through thyroid cancer, talking about the misconceptions about holistic health, that term, and why people blank stare when they hear holistic healing. Like, what? Like, what does that mean? Huh? Foreign? And just really talking about how our mental and spiritual lives really affect our bodies, and how, and just Dr. Ruby just dropped a gem, like, you know, our happiness really determines, it creates more alkaline inside of our bodies. And why the person next to me, you know, may be eating a healthy meal, but if they're harboring bitterness and sadness, like that is the precursor to disease.
Absolutely.
And so there is the food aspect to it, but there's the mental aspect to it. There's the spiritual aspect to it. And that's major.
The spiritual aspect and understanding. And I sometimes even stay away from the word spiritual because that means so many things to so many different people.
It does.
I believe in, I'm a spiritual person, but I believe it's energy.
Yes.
And everything has a wavelength, and sickness has a wavelength, and it aligns with sadness and anger and all those things. So, and health, vibrant health aligns with happiness and those kind of things. So you can, this is why when I was in my healing path, I started reading books about that type of thing, healing, and how people were healing themselves with just their mind. And I was like, how is that working? But it was because they're changing wavelengths. It's like a channel on a radio station that you either tune to the jazz station or you choose to tune to pop. You're only going to get what's on that station. And so when you tune into self-healing and powerfulness and joy, you can't help but heal. And so for me, the last part of my roadmap and path was to start meditating and to start releasing stress and just chilling out and actually visualizing healing. Because I was like, how is that going to help? But I'm like, your body follows your brain. It's so powerful. I'm basically programming my brain of what I want my body to do when I visualize my health. So it's the same thing when you worry. Everybody's like, well, how do you visualize? If you've ever worried about something, you've done negative visualization.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's
what can go wrong.
Right. That's negative visualization. So just flip that.
So true.
And think of what you actually want to happen. And that's what's going to happen. It's just, it's like the law.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It is the law. So it's like so I started visualizing healing. I would feel so healed after 20 minutes of seeing cancer leaving my body, seeing myself happy, visualizing my wellness party. All of that.
Wellness party.
Yes.
Ooh, I love that.
I was like, I would get up, because I'd be laying down doing this. I would feel so good. I was like, there's no way I'm not going to be healed. So I stopped claiming that I had cancer because I was like, my brain just got rid of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my body has no choice but to follow.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That's deep. That's deep. Dr. Ruby, in your practice, do you encourage your clients and patients to grow their own food at all? We invite a lot of farmers and growers in here. We talk a lot about agriculture and going back to our ancestral roots and eating what our ancestors ate. Is that something that you all encourage?
I do. I mean, it's a lot of people are like,
to each his own. It ain't no easy thing to do.
They're like, look, I just got to...
like, I made it here.
I'm going to switch into plant-based. Now you want me to grow it? Really? No, I encourage it if it's in their purview to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I'm like, if you can do like at least a herb garden or windowsill of herbs, that's a good start.
Okay.
So whatever you can do to get on that path.
Absolutely.
But if you have the means to have a community garden or in your backyard, absolutely.
Awesome. Dr. Ruby, when I have my moments, because I'm a woman. I have my moments.
Right.
We have our moments, right? And I eat something based off my emotions.
Yeah.
Because it just be that way sometimes.
I
all
know.
Right?
Listen, I'm not immune. I'm just aware of it. I'm not immune.
But whenever I eat something, let's just say a chocolate chip cookie, whatever. I don't care who thinks I'm weird about this, but it may because I'm more in tune to my body, and I know my body more than anybody else knows my body. My doctor doesn't even know my body like that. But whenever I eat something like sugar or something, I immediately think about my breast and my vagina.
Okay.
And I think about that because I think about I want to maintain healthy. I think serious. I don't think about like the actual like having cancer, but because I know that sugar feeds things, and when mucus develops in the butt, like I think about, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, are my breasts okay? Is my vagina okay? Is that weird?
It's not. I mean, that's a little.
I didn't mean to hit you with it like that. I told you we have honest conversations here.
No, it's fine. So,
and someone appreciates this question I just asked.
I don't think it's weird. It's just that you're very conscious of the link between sugar and cancer.
I am.
And reproductive. You should let that go.
Okay. Thank you.
And
I will.
Not worry about it.
Okay.
It doesn't mean eat a bunch of sugar.
Right.
But one cookie's not going to push you over the edge to cancer.
Yeah. But I do, but in all seriousness, like I do ask that because we have I won't use the word pandemic, but there are a lot of women here, and some men too, because they also can get breast cancer.
Absolutely.
We have a lot of women who they are either breast cancer survivors, did not survive breast cancer, or do have breast cancer. Ovarian cancer.
Right.
That is so
the biggest
real.
things that affect reproductive cancers, we call them breast cancer, prostate cancer, is going to be dairy products.
Okay.
So if you're leaving the dairy off the plate, you're reducing your risk quite dramatically. Cancer, sugar breaks down the immune system, which allows cancer to develop. But that's on a more consistent basis. It's not a one-time thing. You do this every other month. It's not like, it's just going to sprout up.
Yeah.
So if you're taking the cheese off your plate completely, taking dairy, because I always say get rid of dairy, and people say, oh, I don't drink much milk. I was like, but there's ranch dressing, there's Doritos with cheese. There's so many places where milk is. I'm pretty sure you're getting it regularly because you really do have to think about it when especially if you're eating out. It's in all the sauces. Any cream sauce is going to usually have some dairy in it.
Yep.
So you have to be a little more vigilant in saying I'm not drinking milk, which is a good start. Absolutely. Switching to, rice milk, almond milk, coconut milk, whatever. And keeping that off the plate. And then the next thing is keeping the meat off the plate.
Yes.
Because those dairy and meat actually have the actual hormones that feed cancer directly. So when you take that off the plate, you're reducing your risk. I'm not saying you're eliminating it, but you're reducing the risk quite dramatically. So a cookie here or there isn't going to be the worst thing. And then just try to use a cookie that's using, good sugars like maple syrup or dates or something like that.
For the most part, that happens, But again, I have my moments.
But don't live in fear. They're going to be okay.
Really and truly, I shouldn't be eating that stuff anyway. But I'm just saying, it happens.
But if it happens, enjoy it and let it go.
Like you said, enjoy it and let it go.
Let it go.
Let it go.
Do not be fearful, because then you're creating the different
you're
conflicting vibration there.
This is a teaching interview. Dr. Ruby is teaching me today. Okay, teach me today. I as women make the world go round.
Yeah.
Whatever color you are, women make the world go round. I really want us to be more in tune with our bodies, be more in tune with our sexualities, and really take care of our bodies, because our breasts feed our babies, and without our below parts, we can't make babies,
Right. When you first said that, when you eat sugar, you think of your breast and your vagina. I was like, well, those are the sweet spots. Yeah. That's a good connection.
Right, exactly. We could do a podcast about that too now.
Right.
But for the sake of health,
Right.
It's just, there's just so many of us who are just going through the radiation and, going through the chemo because, the dairy and the hormones. And I just sensitivity to women. I just want
with
us.
Any treatment, I say you have to feel good about it. If you're doing it out of fear or just because someone told you, it's not the path to go.
Yeah.
You have to go with your gut.
Yeah.
And that's why I had the courage to go, because I felt it so strongly with my gut.
Dr. Ruby, I'm very curious about your perspective and insight on the state of healthcare, and you can answer that however you want to answer, and just the disease pandemic in the United States. Not even just in the U.S., everywhere.
It's everywhere.
It is bananas. And, I try not to go into this conspiracy theory mode.
But
which I feel
correct.
like, right? Let me say, it holds some weight, though.
I would try not to go. I try to stay away from unfounded conspiracy theories.
I gotcha.
But if you've seen the movie I was in with the health,
yes, I have.
You're not far off.
Yes, nope.
From that, there's direct correlations and links that, I mean, when you have a healthcare industry that is investing in the food that makes us sick, I mean, that kind of makes sense. If I want to have a continuous flow of clients, and I know food is the primary method of causing the illness that causes them to use my products, then I'm going to push those, just like we push poor education so the prison industrial complex can thrive. I mean, the links are there.
The links are there.
I mean,
the links don't lie.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear. So we have a definite pandemic, and because we have been taught to trust authoritative figures, quote, the government.
Yeah.
And the government is made up of people who have personal interests. So I don't know why we believe that because it's the government, it's suddenly wholesome and good, and we care about the people when we meet the individual people who make those laws who are not that way.
Exactly.
It cannot be. So they're bought and sold. Not all of them. I worked for government, many years, but people can easily be bought and sold and have personal interest, in which why they make the laws. From the FDA that approve things that kill us. Companies do their cost-benefit analysis to say, if we put this drug out, it kills X number of people. How much will that cost us? Well, we're going to make 10 times more than that, so we can afford to pay off 100,000 families because we're going to make, $100 billion. So these kind of discussions happen in rooms all the time. So this is not a conspiracy. These are facts.
They're facts. Absolutely.
And then they pay off their friends who worked at that company who are now on the FDA, and they're going to get a job after they leave the FDA. So go ahead and improve this thing that's going to kill people, but we don't care because we're going to make $1 billion or several billion off of it. That happens all the time. So, and then just the lies about food. The food industry is like out of control. It's just like
it's insane.
It's insane. The things that are banned in other countries are flowing freely in all of our food systems. The food colorings that are causing ADHD and all these other things. So my thing is, they can do whatever they want.
Right.
But the good thing is we live in an information age, and the information is there and available, that you can come out of that matrix of lies and you can control what's on your plate today. So we don't have to feel powerless or, oh God, the government, who
we don't
cares?
Have to wait. Exactly.
No, you can change and choose what you put on your plate today. You can seek out the businesses that actually care about your health, that are serving healthy food, as you mentioned, like Kepra's, which I love.
Love Kepra's.
And places like that, and make your own food. And be okay and just, fight the power.
Fight the power, for real.
You don't have to protest.
Fight with your fork.
This, yes.
No, you do not.
You just go to the store and buy the healthy stuff, and you have defied the system. And so that's what I do. So I'm like, I'm going to speak out about it, but I'm not going to fall victim to it. Because the most power you have today is what you put in your mouth.
Yes. And like you said, it's in our hands.
Absolutely. Literally.
Literally.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a lot to unpack. Well, just have a few more moments. You have some upcoming events.
I do.
Let's please share what you have going on. I was at your calendar whoa, can I come to New Mexico?
I know. Yeah, we're doing... when this airs, so back from New Mexico, our vegan jazz brunch, that's fun. I used to live in New Mexico, so that's always a fun time to go back and visit and have a good time with them. So we took that on the road. And then, but what's coming up is a vegan Valentine's cooking class.
Yay!
Yeah, so it's almost sold out. So
oh gosh, okay,
few tickets
all right.
left. Yeah, we're doing that on the 15th, the
Okay.
day after Valentine's, and
Awesome.
on the wharf. And so you can go to my
That's gonna be
website
wonderful.
to get tickets. We're doing really yummy stuff. We always do sweet and savory.
Okay.
So some savory dishes and obviously chocolate.
Yes.
To be involved in there too.
So I was telling everyone earlier, so aside from, Dr. Ruby having her practice and working with patients and seeing patients, to help create, wonderful plans so that they can live a wonderful and abundant life. She is an amazing chef, and I've had her food,
Yeah,
and
thank you.
I love your events because they're hands on,
Right.
and it's just. You just feel so empowered when you leave, like, I can
Good.
make that.
I can do it. Yes, you can do it. It's just, I just like to lead the way. And
Yeah.
you take it from there.
And you do mostly, is it typically, I think the events that I've gone, it's been mostly raw,
I
correct?
do a mix.
Okay.
So there's usually
Okay.
definitely a raw.
Okay.
And there'll be a cooked dish.
Okay.
But I like to focus on raw because it's better to eat more. The more raw food, the better.
Okay.
So if you can find out how to make it taste yummy and not feel like you're eating raw, then let's do that.
I actually did want your take on raw versus like cooked whole, plant-based food because, shout out to Capra. That's the homie,
Yeah, absolutely.
100% raw.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet.
I bow
I
down
don't know
to
that I will
that.
ever get there yet. I love raw food and I love his raw food.
Yeah.
But like, what, like, how can I meet that halfway?
Yeah. So
How
I'm
can
like,
we meet that halfway?
aim for like 60 to 70% raw.
Okay.
Start there, 75%. And then it becomes a little more doable because you have that. You want, especially in the winter, you want soup and you want things. But you can even warm up some things below like 120 degrees and it's still raw. It's just warm, so it
Okay.
doesn't feel like you're eating raw. I mean, raw is the most powerful diet because it's got the most enzymes and it's the most alkaline diet. And it automatically leaves off all the junk, right? Because you can't really just buy that, at a convenience store. So it is the most powerful diet. It can be challenging for people to do and to keep up. You have to be vigilant about
You do. That's a lot
to
of
make
prep.
sure you're getting, and you can't store it too long.
Nope.
'Cause it's raw. But it's good. So I do like raw cleanses for periods of time. I eat lots of raw food. I try to eat what I call a high raw vegan diet.
Okay.
So we're eating tons of raw, but it's not 100% raw. There
Gotcha.
may be some, gluten-free bread. There's probably going to be some beans and things. So I love beans. So that kind of thing. And there are
Okay.
some beans you can have raw, but it's the best way to go. So go high raw if you can't get all the way there.
I'll send you an update maybe in a few months,
Right.
Dr. Ruby. I will send you an update.
Right,
Where
right.
can folks find you, Dr. Ruby?
The best place is on my website, which
Okay.
is rubylathon.com, and that's LATHON.com, rubylathon.com.
Okay.
And you can get in touch with me through there and all of that. I'm on all the social media platforms. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff.
Awesome. This has
Yeah.
been such a pleasure.
Yeah.
I got to have you back because there's just
Yeah.
some other stuff that we
Oh,
need to
could
talk about.
Yeah, we could talk for days.
We can talk
So-
for days. But there really is some other stuff that I want to get into. So we're going to have you
Yeah,
back. Maybe we'll invite my
absolutely.
mom too. But she'll
Yeah.
probably want to ask a trillion questions. I'll be like, hold up, Mom. My show here. Anyway, so I'm going to ask you a couple quick rapid fire questions.
Oh, sure.
You ready for me?
Yep.
These going to be easy.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't know. All right. So what is your favorite seasonal veggie?
Probably sweet potato.
Ooh,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Love a sweet potato.
Yeah.
Especially
So
in
much you
wintertime.
can do with sweet potatoes. Yes.
What is your favorite vegan dessert?
That one's hard because it's like anything chocolate.
Okay.
So I do some raw chocolate brownies. I really love those. Or chocolate cheesecake. That's probably the best.
Ooh, I
Yeah.
haven't had any of your chocolate cheesecakes before.
I've done strawberry cheesecakes. I've made it for myself. I haven't.
She's like, only for me,
Yeah,
not for the
and other
public.
people's. Yeah.
It's all good. It's all good.
Right.
What is your favorite seasonal fruit?
Watermelon. Absolutely. Love
yes,
watermelon.
yes.
And cherries.
Red meat, yellow meat?
Red, yeah. And cherries, too. So,
And cherries.
yeah.
Cherries are great.
Yeah.
Sweet, spicy, sour, or salty?
That's hard. It's really salty and spicy.
Salty and spicy. Okay.
Yeah.
I can dig it. I can
Yeah.
dig it.
Yeah.
What is one action step anyone can take right now to take control of their health? We already kind of talked about it, but just want to end it on a...
Decide that you can do it.
Ooh.
That's the
Yeah.
first, because you get over the mental barrier, everything else follows.
It's the will, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because once you decide, everything else starts to fall into place.
So true. In her words. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for joining me, Dr. Ruby. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Peace, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. You can catch today's episode on fullserviceradio.org, as well as iTunes and Spotify. Be sure to follow Food Talks in Color, that's just the letter N, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter for all updates. Are you an edible activist? Sure you are. Come join me on the show. Just shoot me a DM on the gram or connect with me at foodtalksincolor.com. And if you're interested in sponsoring this podcast, let's connect. Peace and blessings. And remember, in the words of Baba Tariq Adunu, there is no culture without agriculture.
Thanks for listening to this program on Full Service Radio, broadcasting and recording from the Line Hotel in Adams Morgan, Washington, D.C. Full Service Radio programming can be accessed live and archived on fullserviceradio.org. Our talk programming is available on most podcast apps like iTunes and Stitcher, and our DJ sets are available on mixcloud.com/fullserviceradio. Full Service Radio features over 30 weekly shows and over 50 local hosts covering every topic imaginable. If you want to be a guest or get involved, email us at info@fullserviceradio.org. Follow us on Twitter at FullServiceRDO, on Instagram and Facebook at Full Service Radio. Thanks for listening.